For 15 years, Canada had one clear task: replace the aging CF-18s. Keep it simple, keep it reliable, keep it American. Everyone assumed the F-35 Lightning II would fill Canadian skies, link seamlessly into NATO systems, and secure the Arctic. Washington pushed hard, allies nodded, and the choice felt inevitable. Until spring 2025, when that certainty shattered. Just weeks after taking office, Prime Minister Mark Carney stunned defense circles. He ordered a complete review of the F-35 deal. Not a tweak, but a full re-examination of a $27.7 billion decision. Costs had nearly doubled from the original $19 billion estimate, and while Ottawa debated, something surprising was happening across the Atlantic. Sweden's Gripen E, dismissed as second-rate, was quietly outperforming expectations in NATO exercises. For the first time in decades, a Canadian leader dared to question what everyone assumed was inevitable. If you want to stay updated on Canada's defense decisions and more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our channel. In March 2022, after years of evaluations, Gripen, Rafale, Eurofighter, the Department of Defense announced its final decision, the F-35. France's Dassault had already withdrawn, citing U.S. control over Five Eyes intelligence. Airbus pulled out next, calling the process biased toward Lockheed Martin. Even Boeing's Super Hornet was disqualified. By the end, there was only one plane left to choose. Canada's independence in defense planning had quietly vanished. Think about that. You're a defense minister in Ottawa, surrounded by officers trained on U.S. bases, briefed by American liaisons, thinking in American frameworks. Pressure from Washington wasn't direct, it was constant and subtle. Warnings about NATO compatibility, editorials about alliance unity, endless lobbying. By early 2023, Canada officially ordered its first 16 F-35s. The die was cast, until the Trump trade war changed everything. Tariffs on steel and aluminum, economic threats, and open hostility from Washington revealed an uncomfortable truth. Canada had placed all its defense bets on a country that was now treating it like an adversary. Even worse, the F-35 program itself was unraveling. Costs skyrocketing, schedule slipping, and the Block 4 upgrade, the version Canada ordered, now 5 years behind and billions over budget. It wasn't inflation, it was systemic failure. Here's what few Canadians realize. Every F-35 software update runs through the U.S. Department of Defense. Every maintenance check requires American approval. Even test flights outside the continental U.S. need Pentagon permission. That's not partnership, that's dependency. And then Sweden made its move. In June 2025, it offered something Washington never would: joint production, technology transfer, and full Canadian control. Summer 2025, NATO air exercises. The Gripen flew alongside the F-35, Eurofighter, and Rafale. In electronic warfare tests, it didn't just compete, it dominated. It jammed radars, confused missile systems, and tricked targeting sensors. Observers compared it to fighting an invisible ghost. Cheaper to fly, easier to maintain, and capable of refueling and relaunching in under 10 minutes from simple runways. The Gripen was built for independence. The F-35 was built for American control. When word of those results reached Ottawa, the reaction was immediate. Experts who once dismissed the Gripen began changing tone. Behind closed doors, senior officers admitted what they'd avoided saying for years. Choosing the F-35 wasn't just a procurement decision, it was a sovereignty decision. And Canada had chosen dependence. The Gripen, by contrast, meant self-reliance. No American kill switch, no approval chains, no dependency on U.S. systems. So the real question became one of control. Yes, the F-35 looks more advanced on paper. You know, stealth sensors, data fusion. But who actually controls that technology? Italy, France, and Sweden all operate NATO-compatible fighters without any American oversight. So, why should Canada settle for less independence? What happens if, say, a future US president decides Canadian jets can't deploy, or withholds updates during a dispute? Recent tariff wars have already shown that Washington is, well, willing to weaponize policy even against its allies. Critics argue that, hey, Canada has already invested in F-35 infrastructure. But Canada's Arctic bases were really built for rugged, flexible aircraft, not these complex stealth jets. The Gripen can take off from highways, frozen runways, and, honestly, remote northern strips. The F-35, on the other hand, needs specialized facilities that are, still under construction. So, which jet truly defends Arctic sovereignty? The one that adapts, or the one that demands? Ironically, critics claim that buying the Gripen would alienate America. But just look at the current reality: trade threats, tariffs, even annexation jokes coming out of Washington. In that environment, strengthening ties with Europe, not doubling down on dependence, actually looks like common sense. The world has changed, and so must Canada's defense strategy. For 80 years, Canada's military strategy was built on one idea: stay close to America. That made sense once. It doesn't anymore. America is shifting, unpredictable, inward, and frankly, transactional. Mark Carney understood that sovereignty isn't purchased, it's practiced. The Sweden-Canada partnership really proves that smaller nations can build autonomy. Saab's offer to manufacture Gripens in Montreal means Canadian jobs, Canadian engineering, and most importantly, Canadian control. The first 16 F-35s aren't delivered yet, so there's still time to change course. This fall, Canada faces a defining choice: dependence or independence. Which future should we choose? Let me know in the comments. And subscribe to Worldline Analysis for more stories on how nations fight to control their own destiny.